Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about why, if you're thinking about using LegalZoom, you should probably not. Now, before we get started, I just want to disclaim that whether you use me or you use another attorney, or maybe even if you do it yourself, I still think LegalZoom is not the best idea for most people. So keep that in mind, is that although it would appear to be self-serving because I'm an attorney and I will generally recommend services done by an attorney, and I totally understand where you're coming from, it's self-serving and that I'm biased towards attorneys. But you have to keep in mind that these are not only legitimate reasons, but also I believe that most people could do what LegalZoom does themselves and save a ton of money either way. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help you create the business of your dreams. So welcome. I'm happy to have you. Also, if you'd like to get more videos, please don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon to know when we're going live for future videos. And let's get started. So the number one reason, and these aren't in a particular order, so please don't think that just because I'm listing them in a particular order that one carries more weight than the other. Probably the last one is the best reason, so stay tuned for that. But the number one reason is that LegalZoom, especially, and some of these places that'll do it for you, are overpriced for what you get, relatively speaking. In other words, attorneys are notorious for being expensive. I'm not going to argue the point that they're not when the perception is that they are, and a lot of times that is true. However, we generally, not always, there's always exceptions, but we generally deliver better for the value that you're paying. Now, the reason why I say that LegalZoom is significantly overpriced is, for instance, and I'm just using this as a for instance, if you file articles of organization with the Secretary of State, then it's $70 for the filing fee and $5 for the certification, most of which you can do yourself. The last time I checked LegalZoom, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 for them to fill out the form on your behalf. And the form to fill out is not that difficult to fill out. In fact, when I fill it out for my clients, that's not why I'm charging them. I'm charging them for the other things that I'm doing. The purpose of me filling it out is just because I know that I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to be able to follow up and do the work that's necessary to get it done correctly. So I want you to keep that in mind, that the articles of organization or even the articles of incorporation are not that challenging to do. And if you struggle with that type of thing, please keep in mind that that's why you can hire an attorney to do it better for you. So the next reason why is that at LegalZoom itself, cannot practice law. So that means that they cannot draft you an operating agreement. That means that they cannot do the necessary work that an attorney has. They can send you forms for it, but they can't do the work that's necessary. They don't know what the legal clauses mean. They don't know what it's for. So all they can do is send you part of it, and it's up to you to figure it out, and you're more likely than not going to do it wrong. So you have to be very careful. They're charging you $300-$400 to fill out a form that you could do yourself, or you can pay an attorney to do it and have it done right and not stress about it being done wrong. The next reason is LegalZoom gives you what you ask for, not necessarily what you need, because they can't make the judgment calls that an attorney can do. So if you go there looking for an LLC, that's exactly what they're going to give you. They're not going to talk to you about the pros and cons and what's really the best entity for you of a like corporation or whatever entity else that you're thinking of possibly doing. So what happens is that you might need an LLC, you might need a corporation, but until you sit down and talk with somebody, it's very difficult to find that out. And LegalZoom can't do it. I mean, they could go through a series of questions for you, but even then, it's not going to be the same judgment call that an attorney is going to make for your benefit. So that's the next thing. Another thing is that an attorney owes clients a fiduciary duty, which just means I have to put the interests of the client above my own when it comes to this type of thing, which means that when I'm drafting something, I'm thinking about what's best for the client, not what's best for my pocketbook. And what I do is I typically do flat rate work, so it's not based on the hour, and that saves you quite a bit of money. Really, really does. And it makes a ton of sense, and that's what's typically best. When the only time I ever charge hourly is with litigation because of the unknown nature of litigation. So just to kind of give you context in that respect. So that's why doing LegalZoom when they fill out paperwork for you just doesn't make a ton of sense, because you're not receiving the protections that you deserve. The next thing is if they do it wrong, and I've seen this happen, if LegalZoom does it wrong, they charge you to fix it, which I think is bull. I've had several of potential clients and clients come to me and ask me about it. And yeah, they will. They'll charge you to fix it, even though it's their mistake. And if I make that mistake, I will pay to fix it. That's the right thing to do. So just keep that in mind, that if you're doing LegalZoom and they do it wrong, it could have lasting consequences for you. So please keep that in mind while you're deciding on what you should do, that you can't rely on them because that's not what they do. Okay. So that's number one, not number one. That's if they do it wrong, they charge you to fix it, which I think is completely wrong. Number 6, the cost of fixing it far exceeds the cost of doing it right the first time. And I think this is probably the best reason to hire someone to do it right the first time. If you do it wrong and then we have to go back and fix it, it can be very expensive, whether that be through having to fix the LLC itself and the DIY, or LegalZoom does it wrong and we have to go in and fix that type of thing, then it's going to be more expensive. Or the other issue is, if you get sued and it's done incorrectly, it could be opening yourself up to a liability that you weren't expecting because it wasn't done correctly. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're deciding whether or not you should use LegalZoom. Now, these are all parts of the process of thinking about legal stuff. If it's something that you're really confused about, but you still want to do it yourself, then my recommendation is find an attorney that you trust to be able to ask for a consultation. And typically those are paid consultations, because you're going to get actionable steps on business and how to run it, and you're going to get how to do things and what you need. So, it's always better to get that paid consultation rather than them trying to get you for the full Monty of everything, if that's what your budget allows for. Now, sometimes that maybe your budget allows for more. And it really depends on the attorney. So you have to keep this type of thing in mind. Every attorney is different and they have different choices and whatnot. And in previous videos, I've talked about how to find an attorney you trust. So if you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and like, and we go live every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Have a good day.